outstanding fighters. But he never got his shot with Mickey Walker. He would eventually die in 1933. And he would get jobs with fighters such as Walker Smith, better known as Smitty, Louis Valentine, and Donnie Cox at the Harlem Opera House. And you would have fighters such as George Godfrey, who was known as the Leaperville Shadow. Really, really good fighters during that time. Larry Estridge and Panama Joe Gans. Now, the third wave of Black Murderers Row, you would have Herman Williams. He was known as Black Dynamite. Jack Chase, Little Joe Louis, Young Gene Buffalo, Charlie Burley, Coco Kid, Eddie Booker, Burt Littell, Little Tiger Aaron Wade. Now, when you look at Archie Moore and Ezra Charles, and you look at Lloyd Marshall, these are all excellent fighters in that middle and light heavyweight divisions. Charlie Burley was a phenomenal fighter. He was avoided by Tony Zale. And Armstrong didn't give Charlie Burley a shot. When Charlie Burley had lost to Fizzy Zivic in 1938, that was his opportunity to face Henry Armstrong. But Charlie Burley was jobbed. He defeated Fizzy Zivic later on in 38 and once in 39. But then you would have Lloyd Marshall and Burt Littell, Jimmy Bivens, Joe Carter, Ezra Charles, Oakland Billy Smith, Charlie Banks, the Coco Kid, Dave Clark, and the great Archie Moore. And these men could fight. Now, when you go back to the first wave, you had Dave Harley. He being here with the Barbados Demon, Joe Walcott, Dixie Kid, Sam Langford, and Joe Gans. You had Larry Temple, and he fought Jack Johnson, the Jamaica Kid, Jeff Clark, and young Peter Jackson. You had Panama Joe Gans. His name was Cyril Quentin. 1896 to 1968. And he was an outstanding fighter. He would lose his title to Larry Estridge. Larry Estridge was a southpaw. He was a fantastic black fighter. He would win a colored middleweight championship belt away from Panama Joe Gans. But then his title would become extinct when Theodore Tiger Flowers would become the first black middleweight champion in boxing history. Tiger Flowers would become champion when he would defeat Harry Greb in 1926. Sam Mcveigh was known as the Oxnard Cyclone. He was 5'10.5". Had 102 total bouts, 76 wins, 13 losses, 62 knockouts, and he was stopped 5 times. He was an outstanding fighter. And of course, Sam Langford, who's 6'3" to, 5'6" to 5 foot, some say 5'7". He won a featherweight championship crown as an amateur, 1902. He won a colored world middleweight championship crown, the European middleweight championship crown, won a colored world heavyweight championship crown 5 times, the Mexican heavyweight championship crown, Australian heavyweight championship crown, and the black championship as he was waiting for the results of Joe Jeanette and Sam Mcveigh in 1909. He fought fighters such as Bearcat Wright, Tuck Jackson, Jeff Clark 6 times, Fred Fulton, Jack Savage, Cleve Hawkins, Fireman Jim Flynn 4 times. John Lester Johnson, Big Bill T, Roughhouse Ware, Young Peter Jackson, Jim Barry 12 times. George Godfrey, Ed Gunbo Smith, Lee Anderson, Bowling Jim Johnson 15 times. Jack Thompson, Joe Jeanette 14 times. Sam McVeigh 15 times. Harry Wills 22 times. And you mean to tell me that these men didn't get a fair shot at the title? And I'll tell you that is facts. Tiger Aaron Wade, Jack Chase, Herman Williams, Eddie Booker, Eddie Palmer, Burt Littell, Lloyd Marshall. Oh, outstanding fighters. So I just wanted to let you know what Black Murderers Row was. It was a group of fighters who were black that was denied fair opportunities. So they had to fight each other in tournaments. And that idea came from the Battle Royales, which was probably one of the most, if not the most, can't even think of a word for something like that. It was degrading, is what it was. You had fighters such as Bo Jack and Elmer Violent Ray and George Dixon, Joe Gans, Kid Norfolk, Jack Johnson. Many of them participated in those events. So the black fighter has definitely deserved his just due. When Ray Robinson became champion in 1946, when he defeated Tommy Bell for the welterweight championship belt, Harlem, New York had something to celebrate. When Joe Louis became the second black heavyweight champion, 1937, when he would defeat James Braddock in Comiskey Park, that was something to celebrate. As Charles became the heavyweight champion, he would win the NBA version of it when he defeated Joe Walcott. 1949, that was something to celebrate. When Judge Joe Walcott became the third black heavyweight champion of the world. Actually, he was the fourth black heavyweight champion in the world. He would defeat Ezzy Charles. That was something to celebrate. When Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, came into play, he took it on a different level. He was more brash, but he would get that from Archie Moore. Archie Moore was a champion who spoke how he felt. Floyd Patterson was a little calmer. He would win that title in 1956 when he would take on Archie Moore. It was for the vacant heavyweight championship title left over by Rocky Marciano when he retired in 1956. He would face Archie Moore in 1955 for that title in defense of it. But he would knock out Joe Walcott in 1952 to win that title. He would take on Ezzy Charles twice in 1954. He would defeat him twice. He would defeat Joe Louis in 1951, New York's Madison Square Garden. All credits give to Rocky Marciano. Joe Walcott, Ezzy Charles, and Joe Louis were past their primes. But Archie Moore faced them and gave them opportunities. Rocky Marciano was an outstanding fighter, one of the best of his time. Then you would have Larry Holmes, and you would have Iron Mike Tyson. You would have Anthony Joshua and Deontay, the Bronze Bomber Wilder. Evander Real Deal Holyfield, James Buster Douglas. Amazing run of black fighters getting opportunities. Now Michael Dokes and Greg Page. You would have Leon Spinks and Tim Witherspoon. Pinklin Thomas and Trevor Burley. They would all grab a piece of that title. But the longest reigning champion was Joe Louis. 25 title defenses, 12 years. And Jack Johnson, who was one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time, had discovered a wrench that was named the monkey wrench. They referred it to Jack Johnson. It was a pipe wrench, wrenches that you use today. He recreated a patent for that wrench. He was a musical composer and an artist. Henry Armstrong was also a musical composer. He was very intelligent, but he loved the fast life, as many did. You had Ike Williams and Bo Jack, Bob Montgomery, and Jimmy Carter. Those four men would meet one another several times. Sandy Sadler began his professional debut along with Burt Littell in 1944. Sandy Sadler would become the featherweight champion. He would retire undefeated. He would face Willie Pep 4 separate occasions. Then you have fighters such as Sugar Shane Mosley, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Seals, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. And these men would take it to a complete different level. But when you go back to the 1960s, you're looking at Reuben Hurricane Carter and Georgie Benton, Emil Griffith, another group of fighters that got it on several times, not with one another necessarily, but within their own special time. So I just want to go over and reminder of what Black Murderers Row is. It started with the first wave. Sam Langford, Joe Jeanette, Sam Mcveigh, Jack Johnson before he came champion. And when he came champion, Harry Wells would take over in that slot because he was blackballed by Jack Dempsey in 1924 and again in 1926. Now you would have the Harlem Renaissance that would take place in 1918. It lasted until 1930. Between 1926 and 1935, you have two of the most elegant jazz and cabaret nightclubs, one block away from one another. You have the Cotton Club and the Savoy Ballroom. The Cotton Club was a Harlem nightclub that was open with a white establishment, 1923 to 1935. It was located on 142nd Street, Lenox Avenue. The famous club was served only to white paying audiences, but you would have black entertainers. You would also have Benny Goodman, Bill Bojangles Robinson, Ethel Waters, Cab Calloway, the Nicholas Brothers, Louis Armstrong, Lena Horne, Josephine Baker would perform there. But it was originally known as the Supper Club. And that club was ran by Jack Johnson. It was on the second floor. And a gangster who was released from prison, he took over the establishment, basically strong-armed the establishment, and he turned it into the Cotton Club. But Jack Johnson would have clubs in many states. He was very intelligent. He ran his businesses with prostitutes and alcohol. They were both illegal. But he would receive a lot of traffic in his clubs. He was nailed for the Mann Act. And he was married to the woman who he was accused of sending over state lines for prostitution purposes. She was underage. But Jack Johnson was nailed that way because the only way they can take the title away from him. And Jess Willard would take the title from Jack Johnson in 1915, Cuba Havana. He'd be stopped in 26 rounds. But to make sure he didn't make a comeback and get that title again, they arrested him. Did a year in jail. Came back. Few exhibitions. But he would invest his money wisely. Charlie Burley, who was just as avoided as Sam Langford was, would take on Oakland Billy Smith. And that would be an outstanding fight. He would become the California light heavyweight champion when he would defeat Jack Chase. Jack Chase got that title from Watson Jones. So you had some great fighters during that time. And I just wanted to pay homage to these great black fighters in Black History Month. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel.